clap your hands, everybody. Everybody just clap your hands. If you ain't got on no pants, get up and do your dance. All right.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Two Guys and a Girl podcast.
Hello.
I go by the name of Big J. Sitting to the left of me is Wally B. Sitting to the right of me is Mimi. And we have a special guest today who goes by the name of Daniela. And as you can see, we have Thanksgiving in front of us. We have a nice smorgasbord of food courtesy of Mother Teresa's Empanadas. Am I saying that right?
Mama Teresa's.
Mama Teresa.
Mama Teresa.
Which one is the guava one again?
The one all the way in the front. Mine.
Okay. Got to stay properly nourished.
Always.
Yes. So we're going to have a little bit of a different layout today. Instead of doing how was your week, we're going to just do a little interview portion for Daniela and her business that she has cultivated. And so first off, I guess my first question would be your name. Where did your name come from?
So Mama Teresa's.
Louder.
Sorry. To make how close my bed. Okay. But
Hey, move that mic back. What y'all doing?
Sorry.
so
A little further, a little further.
Farther?
farther. Okay.
Yeah, leave it right there.
Okay.
So we good?
Yeah.
Gucci? All right. So, Mama Teresa's, I named it after my mother. My mother's name is actually Maria Teresa, but everybody knows her ever since growing up as Teresa. So I wanted something to honor her, the fact that she's the one who taught me how to cook in the kitchen, and then also a little bit of where she's from. She's from Uruguay, and a lot of people don't know the really small country of Uruguay, which is like all the way on the southeast corner of the map. It's right next to Argentina, right under Brazil. We're next to Paraguay, but yeah, I just wanted to bring a little bit of what my mother's love into the world, and this was a great creative outlet for me and creation, and I'm very proud
So
of it.
making food is like an outlet for you?
Yes.
Has it always been an outlet for you, or is it just something that you kind of took to as an adult? Have you always enjoyed like cooking and baking? And
Well, normally, as a kid, I was big in music growing up. So for me, it was all about, band, choir, orchestra. I did all of that. And I told my dad, I was like, I want to be a singer. And he was like, yeah, that won't bring food to the table. That's not a 9 to 5. So I was like, okay, smackdown. Okay, let me just go another route.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. But just watching my mom in the kitchen growing up, she'd always have something going on, whether it be empanadas, whether it be cakes, whether it be pastas. Like, my mom was very adamant on making sure her children were cultured in a little bit of everything. Coming from another country to the U.S., she was like, my children are going to be cultured and being able to appreciate everything in this country, not just, unfortunately, there's a lot of Latinos that do come back into the U.S. from their countries, and they just want to stay how they were back in their home country here, and that's kind of not how that works. And so she was very adamant of having us try, a lot of Asian cuisine, Middle Eastern, American, all different types of Latino dishes, and making sure that we were able to have that variety, because being in Uruguay, it's very European influenced. And so there's a lot of people that look like this lovely lady right here. So you go to Uruguay and you land and you're like,
Hola.
so you be like, hey, you look like her. This is okay.
so I should have like a menu in front of me, but what made you the food that you have on your menu? Are these just the things that you necessarily? Well, first off, what do you serve at your?
So for what we have on the menu are mainly all types of empanadas. Empanadas.
Why empanadas in particular?
Empanadas in particular. So empanadas are pretty much like the burgers of all Latin cuisine because it's literally a turnover of whatever you want to put in it, and you either bake it or you fry it.
So is it like tacos for like people who are Mexican? I'm asking questions.
No, that's a legit question. It's okay. No, tacos, sure, we'll go that route. Tacos, yeah, because they're very versatile. They could be a little bit of everything. Same thing with empanadas. Like empanadas, some people do them different. Like some have them like if you look in the Filipino culture, they have huge empanadas. They're like the size of half of this bundt cake. And I'm like, yeah, that's way too big. I want something bite size where it's like nom nom. But yeah, so on the menu itself goes with the original, which my mom taught me, which is the beef, and it has spicy pork added in it, which gives it a nice kick, nice touch.
That's what this one is. It's so good.
And then I have the chicken, which is, I know, your favorite.
Yes. I like the
You
chicken.
finally got your chicken.
You finally got your chicken. And then we also have the spinach and ricotta. That was something I literally thought of. I was like, hey, let me throw a little veggie portion in there. I also do a very traditional flavor, which is the corn, a sweet corn. They usually do that also in Uruguay. They sell them out on street vendors in the corners, and they're like, hey, come get them. Some people fry them. I personally bake mine, because if you fry an empanada and you try to reheat that joint, it's straight.
Oh, so for like the like leftover value of it.
Exactly.
You like, okay,
And
that's
then these
cool.
are great because you can actually like cook them, freeze them, and then heat them up in the oven.
No,
I
that's
say
cool.
do them in the oven. If you do them in the microwave, they kind of get
Let me put you on to some game, though. Y'all need to get one of them air fryers made by Instant Pot, Vortex, the 9-in-1 or 7-in-1 joint.
Oh, I have an air fryer at home. Trust me, I be messing with that joint.
Now, do you have like a regular air fryer though?
I
Or,
do.
like, I'm talking about like the joint, like so the one I got like a reheat function, a dehydrate function, a bake function. Like I'll literally buy whatever fast food I want and revive the living hell out of it.
Nice.
Like, it always works.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I gotta look into.
So, when you were like you said, you've been baking for a while now and making food. What made you want to turn this into a business? Want to start selling your idea? Because I think there's a difference between saying. Because I know me and Mimi, the reason why we started this podcast is we've been talking in the break room for years.
Right.
And we always would joke around about like we should do like a reality show or a podcast, but we never put thoughts and action to it. You know what I'm trying to say? So something like baking, like now you're like, okay, I'm gonna invest into myself.
Right.
When did that process happen? When did you start with that?
And it's really funny because I've always, when I would make empanadas, like we would have special functions, either at work or family functions, and I would always be like, okay, go to thing, empanadas, and I could do them different flavors, whatever. And literally, it was just like everybody would tell me, you should start selling these. These would be great, especially if, like, say for example, hopefully in the near future, I'm gonna put it out there, maybe food truck one of these days. You know, go around, do your thing, and a lot of people enjoyed it because the fact that it wasn't heavy. So a lot of the dough, like the dough is very flaky, depending on like the filling inside of it. The majority of the dough is flaky. Others, it's a little more sturdier, so that way, like for the chicken, some people when they make their chicken empanadas, they're either dry like the Sahara Desert or they're peeing out juice. So I wanted something that had some substance, but also I'm able to bring it out to the market for people to be like, okay, I like it. So it's kind of like a chicken pot pie. So it has that nice American kind of touch to it. But yeah, people were like, oh, you should sell this. It was great. It's quick, fast, finger foods, or it's like easier to hang around, or you can get it in your car, eat it while you're driving or whatever. And I was like, who else am I going to invest in but myself? So I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And a lot of people were like, yeah, it'd be a great idea. And then when I was literally like, okay, well, and I pushed out a menu and I started like pushing all this out, people were like, you're insane. Why would you do this?
Well, because I remember it was like a thing where you had to get infrastructure to it, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have enough space for the orders that were coming in.
Yeah,
so
it's still fun.
how
I'm
was
still kind
that?
of manipulating the space that I have. My kitchen is literally like the size of your kitchen.
Right.
and I'm just pushing out what I can, and I literally like have everything like on my dining room table, my kitchen counters, like, and there were nights where I didn't sleep, but it's okay. Because
you were just making empanadas?
I was making empanadas. And then now for like the seasonal, so it's, of course, holiday season, everybody like their baked goods. So, and I was like, and I'm really big on butt cakes. Like, I don't know why, cakes in general. Cakes, let me tell you, cakes are hard to make, okay? Because I have...
Bacon ain't no joke.
Bacon ain't no joke.
Bacon is always a science experiment.
It is. And it was, unfortunately, one of the few subjects in school that I hated. So the fact that I invested myself in doing baking and cooking, I was like, what was I thinking? No. But with, like, baking in general, I love it. Like, I just love the finished product. I love, like, that satisfaction of pulling it out of the oven, and you're like, yes! Like, it's done. Oh, my God.
Were you a little nervous when you first started, or whenever you... when you say, okay, I'm gonna now I'm making this into a business. I'm gonna start printing up things for it. And then were you nervous? Like, okay, no one's gonna want, because like it's a difference between I bring this in and someone says they like it, and then someone being like, okay, I'm putting money behind it and I want to buy your product. Because I think that's like, for me, it's not a one-to-one with the podcast. It's one thing for people to say, oh yeah, Jamal, you're smart, you're interesting to talk to. It's another for them to be like, all right, Big J, I'm going to listen to you every week. Mm-hmm. Like, I think even trying to sell something to people who your friends and family is sometimes hard.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. No, like, it's like a common thing for, like, that's like, I guess the worst is the wrong word. But, like, going to your family and friends first to try to, like, grow your business, just you asking for trouble. So, like, you got to, like, off the break, make sure who your audience or clientele is going to be and go after them, and kind of fold your friends and family into it if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, because unfortunately I got lumped into, not unfortunately, but I did a lot of, like, MLMs.
What are that? What's that?
Amway.
Like, multi-level marketing stuff.
Looking at you, Vector Marketing.
My
mama still got all them Cutco knives in her kitchen, and they're sharp,
I still have my
but they're
Cutco
expensive.
Knives, like, they're some good knives. Like,
yeah, they are. They're great. But I still remember that homemaker set that came with the block and all the kitchen knives cost like $850.
Yeah, no, they were no joke.
That left a scar on my life. Sorry.
No, but I was really, like, thrown into a lot of the MLMs, especially, like, growing up, too. My parents were big in Amway.
Ooh.
Yeah. They were big in Amway, and then the rest of the family got into it, and then they slowly started pulling away. And I've been in pharmacy myself already going on 16 years. So that was not my first choice. I did not want to do pharmacy, but at the same time, like, as a lot of children that come from parents who are immigrants, they're really like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and push this idea towards you. Like, why don't you be a pharmacist or be a doctor or be a lawyer or do this or do that? And I'm like, yeah, no.
I want to draw pictures, Mom.
Like, yeah, I was like, I just want to,
I want to be a Jabberwocky, Mom.
Hey, but look at Joe Coy now. He's over there doing his thing, like, and he funny as shit. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'd be crying. But yeah, growing up, my mom was like, hey, why don't you try doing this or do that? And she was like, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, well, I want music. And my parents were like, nah, not music. Just, you're going to struggle too much. And I was like, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think music and the arts is like, we used to have a coworker that worked with me and Mimi. She was big into like, she did like singing, and she was talking to like actors who were like off Broadway.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, that's a starving lifestyle. There's so few people that actually make it from like the stage to like the screen, or even make it from like off Broadway onto Broadway.
Yeah.
So I can understand where, it's hard as a parent, I can imagine, to say, yeah, you should do this. But sometimes it's about just trying to give your give your child the most, yeah, or even the situation of the best chance to succeed.
Right.
And if and I could understand where that would be a thing, but like with baking and doing this, like, do you have long-term goals as far as
I do.
with do you have them do you have like a vision board of I want to be here in this amount of time. I want to be doing like how are you mapping it out? Your world domination.
My world domination. So with vision board, I do a vision board. I also, it's really funny because I read a quote from John Maxwell because I used to read a lot of like his books in the MLM. So I've read a lot of like very
books
supporting books that's like good, like
The
investing
motivation-
in
the motivational
motivation,
books.
investing in you, that kind of a thing. So like Maxwell said, 90% of people who write down their goals will actually be able to achieve them compared to the 10% that don't write down their goals. They're just still waiting in the wings. And I was like, that's smart. Because you're putting an idea to paper and you're like, okay, this is what I want to achieve. And you put that on the board and it's like, bam, that's what I want. So literally like my vision board is like, hopefully have like a small stand-in business where I can like have people come in being like, hey, I want this or I want that. You know, we also cater, so I'm helping people with like doing small events, office parties, stuff like that. I also, if in the near future that'd be great to do a food truck, I think that would be fun. It would be fun for me because food trucks, growing up in DC, like food trucks is life. And also, you know, visiting a lot of people in New York, like that's all there is just food trucks and food stands and like carts and stuff like that. I would like to do that because I'd like to, like I said, spread what my mom taught me, which is love, which is food. And food is a universal language. Like people, if you don't like food, you're either one, you ain't human, or two, you probably got something going on. So for me, my vision is to hopefully have like a small store where I'm able to be there with myself and also my soon-to-be investor. And, you know, like, that's my vision board is mainly to have a successful business where I'm happy, I'm able to take care of myself, my husband, you know, hopefully family, who I consider family, like Megan. I've known Megan already going on almost 15 years. Like, she family.
Do you have an idea of, and this is probably the last question I'm going to ask about your business. Do you have like a target audience that you're
Honestly,
looking
my
to?
audience is a little bit of everybody because, like, for example, the empanadas, like, I would try to go, of course, people love their meat empanadas. They love the meat. They love the chicken. But also, like, with people who can't have that meat, like, I go with the spinach and ricotta, or I even do, like, the guava and cheese to give them something sweet.
I love that one.
And then you have also with the sweet corn, so it's more of a veggie option because there's some people who can't have, you know, certain things, like, especially with the cheese, like, there's some people who can't have any type of dairy. So it's like it's hard for them to enjoy what I kind of give to them. But if it's some of it's really just it's all in your own imagination and what you can create and push out. And if you want to do it, go for it. So like I said, if you're gonna invest in someone, invest in yourself because in the end, like your life is so short, you might as well live and enjoy your life and do what you love. And for me, when I'm in the kitchen, I love doing this and bringing it to people and getting reactions like Wally's reaction as soon as he grabbed that guava, he was like, yo, that joint slaps like mine. Like that for me is just
I haven't said
great.
much because I'm sitting over here looking the rest of it out the back of my teeth.
Did you have any more questions about her business?
Oh no, you covered the gamut, Playboy.
Okay, so I had a couple of questions. You've been listening to this podcast since the very beginning.
Yes.
So I could safely say you're a fan of what you've been hearing and so you're a stan. Nice. I was like, why are you whispering that? So, okay, when Mimi comes to you and says, hey, D, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. Because for me, this is my impressions of Megan. Mimi, sorry. My impressions of Mimi is she's very private. And so that does not really translate if you're talking about doing a weekly podcast where you're like talking into. So like, what were your thought processes on this?
our faces. So when Mimi came to me and was like, hey, I'm doing a podcast, I was like, okay. Like, where are you at? What you doing? What are you guys talking about? Like, what was me being an invested
Everyone
person?
Everyone asked that. Remember
what is it about?
What is it about?
Like,
Yeah.
me as an invested person, like I said, I've known Mimi going on almost 15 years. So, like, me being invested as almost like family, I want to know what she's doing. And I want to know, like, okay, what are you covering? Like, what is it about? Like, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Like, what is your, like, when you were just asking me about my business, I was asking her about the podcast. And when I started listening to the episodes, like, you guys were able to cover a little bit of everything, but keep it still entertainable and funny. Like, it's hard to have that chemistry with people because there's some people who literally will get on the mic or the camera and they like, what up?
Yeah, they don't be saying nothing.
Like-
They talk like they're reading off a piece of paper.
And there's some people who get on the mic
I'll
and
just
it's
turn
just
that a little
like,
bit.
it's magic. And it's like the chemistry between y'all, like beginning with Big J and with Mimi, and then later on with Wally. Like, as soon as Wally came in and I started listening, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna work. This is gonna work. This is gonna be good.
You
Like,
heard it there first.
I was like, this is gonna be good. And
Wally B, a.k.a. the metahuman level groove craftsman, a.k.a. the linchpin.
AKA the wordsmith extraordinaire.
Yes.
the Don Juan of all electronics.
Did you know that, so whenever you were with I was like something's hitting me, and I was like, I don't know what to.
Okay, we was like we're sitting way closer than normal. Yeah, my bad.
So that's what I thought you wanted something.
Yeah, you want to know empanadas. Anyway,
So whenever you heard about her, okay.
Thank you.
So when she said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing it with Big J," because full disclosure, we all used to work together at one point.
I used to be their assistant manager at their job now.
That's
Yep.
fun.
So, and when she told me like she was doing it with you, I was just like, oh, okay, well that's different. I was like, that's
Why did you?
in a bad way, but it was like different. Like, oh, okay.
Why was that different? No, what was
Because
that?
you're, like, at work, you're very reserved. Like, you're in your own element. Like, you're just kind of in your own world. And so for you to be like, oh, you know, for Mimi to be like, yo, I'm going to do this with Big J, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I get to see a different side of him. This is going to be nice. Like,
They be rapping like shit.
Yeah, see, I think a lot of people have that impression of me because I think when I was in school, everybody assumed I was quiet. I just don't.
When it's time to work or go to school, be in class, study, like it's time to do that shit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I was growing up. Like I'm the same way. But
You want to finish that empanada first, champ? I know you want to hop in. You want to
This
finish
was-
eating first?
This pistachio cake, by the way. Oh my god.
it's like goblin green.
Oh,
this
it's
is why
so
we're
good,
here.
though.
I don't know. No, you're good. It's
hey,
just,
I'm gonna tell y'all now. Like y'all better check out both the podcast and the video. Like definitely check out the video because like you got to see when we eating here.
It's so green, but it's so good.
we're off the rails.
Yeah, what was he talking about?
Okay.
He interrupted
Oh
me
yeah.
because
My bad.
he was
When it's time for work and it's time for school, like it's time for work and school. Like I'm paying attention, at least trying to focus on what's going on, not really being disruptive.
Right.
But when I get in my element, it's a little different. And then when I get around people, my folks,
Right.
it's even,
It's just like it's depending on who you associate, and that's how I figured how you are. Like when you're at work, you're professional. Obviously, you at work, you don't get to let your hair down.
I'm not Mr. Congeniality. That's Mimi. Mimi's Mrs. Congeniality. I'm not Mr.
And it's true
Congeniality.
because Mimi's just very sociable butterfly. She out there like, hi, how you doing?
No, I bangs with who I bangs with, and everybody else. And so for me, it was like I think that's why the whole our big mega teaser episode. That's
That was
why I
funny.
talked about Meghan Markle. Because I felt like anybody who would kind of just knew me a little bit would be like, oh, this is the most I've ever heard him talk.
Right.
And I think
a
that
lot to
was,
say about that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was mainly because we just cut on the mics. But like Mimi, I'm not quiet. I think that was the.
But that's good because you guys work together all the time. And when I was in
But
that
you also
setting,
have to be talking into a microphone. yeah. No, but you were like. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but like when in that setting, like unfortunately, I had to be the assistant manager. So I mean, I had to be professional. So it was hard, but it was hard to be professional and also sociable for me because I'm just that person that I'm like, I like to be lively with people, and like I love to talk to people and get to know them and sit there and be like, okay, tell me about you. Boom. Like I want to know. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, in that professional setting that we were at, it was very weird because, you know, he would walk in and be like, "Good morning, Miss Daniela," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel old. Don't tell me." But he's being professional. Like he's being polite.
Yeah.
He's being courteous.
That's
the point.
Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
And we all sitting here with the king of the South out here.
Okay, I knew you were gonna do that, and I was getting ready to ask you not to do that. No, because when I go Instagram, because you were there, you were on the Instagram live before I got there.
Yeah.
So all our boys were on the Instagram live chat thing for like the first night of the NFL on Thursday, and I joined it, and as soon as I joined the chat, it's the King of the South is here, and all that. But the funny story behind that is when I was 18 years old, Wally, I had a voice message thing that said, "Hey, this is
Jamal, King of the South."
Yes. And so all of my friends were like, "What?" He did not just make that his voice message thing. And I was like, yeah, because I was like, I think T.I. was really big at the time.
Yeah, it was. Like, that was funny because I had another friend.
Okay.
And my man had the ASAP by T.I. that joint. He had like 30 seconds of the instrumental.
Oh my gosh, like the voicemails back in the day when you would play like whatever the intro of the song, and then out of nowhere be like, "You've reached blah blah blah. Thanks for calling my voicemail."
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh,
I'll call you back.
Right. And then the song keep playing. You turn that joint up.
Yeah, yeah.
Put the phone next to the stereo. Like,
You gotta listen back to it. Oh, nah, this don't sound right. I gotta back it up a little bit. You know, we dealing with telephone mics. Yeah.
You gotta workshop it till it goes. Turns out
Kids today will never understand.
no.
no.
Kids today will never get it.
Real back in the day. Yes.
So before we get to the first topic, I would like to ask Megan politely, could you cut me a piece of that? Thank you.
sure.
I appreciate.
So we got some rum
Appreciate.
cake, and
Yeah,
then we
so,
got.
so what is the green one?
So the green one is the pistachio almond that we have with pistachio, and then also.
Yeah, that was almost exclusively for you.
Yes, that's the pumpkin spice. So here to the left is the pumpkin spice with the rum glaze, and I use that good top shelf Caribbean rum.
Oh yeah.
That boom boom. If y'all don't know that rum, boom boom rum. That's for y'all.
Actually,
Okay,
I got
okay.
to do it. Could you cut it for me?
And then we got the rum cake
got you.
here.
Yeah, get you.
Also top shelf rum cake that we have, the bundt cake, with the rum glaze and also candied pecans on the top.
Let me tell you something about. So the thing I like the most about your
Thank you,
food,
sir.
D,
Welcome.
is normally when you have like baked goods and things, they have a tendency to be very heavy and very dense, and sometimes a little overwhelming in their flavor profiles. But the nice thing about like these bundt cakes, they look like they could probably kill you if you got hit with one. But they're so light, and the flavor profile is so nicely balanced. Even the pistachio one, where it's very pistachio forward, but it's not like right in the face with pistachio. It's
Mimi,
so nice.
can I ask a question? What is flavor profile? Like this, I'm completely lost. What are you
So
saying?
like when you're eating anything or drinking anything, different layers of flavor create a certain profile. And things could lend themselves to more floral, more fruity, more spiced, more sweet, more savory. You know, like when you hear about people who are like sommeliers, who are like professional wine tasters, they talk about chocolate notes and cherry notes and tobacco notes.
Wine,
And
coffee, weed.
all of it. When you're talking about anything that helps to
All of it.
bring
All day.
a characteristic to something that you're eating or drinking, that's a flavor profile.
This is great.
It's so good.
Now, can we just sit here and eat? Do we have to do it?
We have
And look, y'all go ahead and
We have other
take what
things.
you want out of this cake, because this shit is coming with me.
Yeah, definitely. I know why gonna be like.
So
this is my-
Jay and I will have these. That one's yours.
Oh yeah.
That one's yours.
Well, I mean, at least cut off.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
but,
definitely.
I mean, we'll
yeah.
sort of share, but
And also,
no, but we
Sorta
have to
share.
keep going because we have other things that we need to discuss.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry.
I'm distracted. Okay, sorry. All right, so
munchies.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, so good.
Oh my god.
Oh Lord.
So, for our first topic, I wanted to go to everyone's favorite podcaster.
Fucking no.
Yeah.
Ball ass bitch. Sorry.
I was
ball-
like, wait.
Ball is not the bad part.
I was
Now,
saying,
Wally, tell us how you really feel
I
about it.
know, right?
He's an idiot, yo.
no. So the world's most famous and highly paid podcaster, Joe Rogan, got COVID a couple weeks ago, and I felt bad for him because COVID is pretty terrible. My sister got COVID. I've had some people in my family get it, and it's no bueno. But I felt like, well, this guy just signed a $100 million deal with Spotify, so he's going to get the world's best care, and he did. He got metachlorine antibodies, which most people do not get a chance to get. As a matter of fact, I think only the president got it, and Joe Rogan, and a lot.
Which president?
Donald Trump. Yeah, he got it. So so only a select few get that kind of treatment, but everybody else gets pretty decent treatment. He also used CPAC, and he also used ivermectin. And he was saying he just did a variety of things to try to knock it out. So then he comes back on his podcast, says he feels better, and says, the ivermectin helped him out. And the ivermectin is what knocked the COVID out and got him feeling better. Now, I am not a medical expert, and I don't even play one on TV. That wasn't one of my acting jobs. But one thing I do know, from what every expert that I hear and talking head tell me, is that, ivermectin does not treat COVID. To tell people that hey, instead of go getting vaccinations and, taking care of yourself, you take something that's not for something else. Because ivermectin does have qualities that help out in other cases.
Like an antiviral.
Yeah, but
No, it's not an antiviral.
Isn't it for like parasites and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an antiviral.
Yeah, so like you're supposed to. That's when you use it. So I don't know about all this now. Here's where I will push back a little bit. There is a lot of stuff saying that people are overdosing on it and all the rest of that. Looking into that, that's not quite what's really going on. That I haven't seen any.
I mean, technically, yeah, because like what people are doing is, ivermectin has like things it can help with certain things if you're human, but
I've heard
people are
conflicting
taking
stories.
Animal ivermectin for huge animals like horses. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit's not meant for you to ingest at all.
I actually have some information about ivermectin if anyone's interested.
No, and I was going to get to that, but I was also going to say, I've heard what you heard, Wiley. It's just when I go to hammer that down, I don't get all of that information. Like, it's like conflicting. Some people say, the hospitals themselves are saying, yeah, people have come in, and yes, they may have, but they're not dying over it, and then it's not to the degree in which it's been sensationalized.
Yeah, I feel you. I think like when you talk about like a public health issue like this, when you get to that point, like you're further than the experts in public health would have gotten. You know what I mean? In their mind, they're the most highest paid podcaster, most popular podcaster out there is like telling people that ivermectin helped clear up his COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like that there is dangerous enough. And I think that's like where that's where they start from. You know what I mean? You go deeper than that, yeah, you might find some discrepancies here and there, but like the fact that happened and there's people agreeing with it and like at least saying that they may or may not do it is like dangerous enough when we already dealing with the actual pandemic we in the middle of.
Yeah, and I think that's where I was like, well, with all the far left people are like, well, actually, this. I'm like, well, actually, they just shouldn't be taking it to treat COVID.
Yeah, like there was a story out there said like ivermectin was making 85% of people sterile, but like that data turned out to be not exactly reliable from a study that had nothing to do with a disease like COVID or anything like that. So yeah,
and I just have, and before we get to your breakdown on ivermectin. And my beef isn't necessarily with Joe. It's all the talking heads out there that are like, if you are unaware about what's going on in the world, or if you have very little information and you have a big platform, it's very important that you don't go off spewing things that aren't true. Mm-hmm. Because when you do that, you have a lot of people that you have influence over. You have a lot of people who listen to you and think that, oh yeah, if he says to do it and he's fine, I can do the same. And I think that's that's a very irresponsible place to be, and you have to be responsible with your platform.
At that point, like, it's not like your words do hold that much power when you've got that much influence. You know what I mean? Like, somebody like me could just say that stuff in front of like 5,000 people, and it wouldn't really mean nothing because, like, who am I? You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah.
And it's true because, like, even the platform before, I'm just going to put in some 2 cents. When Donald Trump, in the beginning, when COVID was just starting to get really big, and Trump was like, oh, well, you just take, hydroxychloroquine and you'll be just fine. Like, no. Like, it was to the point where some medical facilities had to literally put a restriction on certain drugs because they kept throwing out names being like, oh, take this and you'll be fine, or take this and you'll be cured.
I know
like,
a lot of
no.
Nigerians, and when hydroxychloroquine got brought up, all of them were like, yo, what? Because where they grew up, it was used to treat like malaria and stuff, and it was making people go blind. Like, they was like, yo, what? No, like, there's people like I know people that couldn't comprehend like why that would have been a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so. Yeah. Anyway,
the side effects are not fun with that one. Like, it's just no.
I'm cool.
Just
So, Mimi, you have a little bit of knowledge when it comes down to what is it?
I feel like I've been pronouncing it wrong.
Ivermectin.
Are you okay?
I'm good. No, I got distracted. My bad.
Yes. Mimi's got her little blue book of knowledge.
Yes.
Yes.
So you found it? Because last week...
Yeah, I did find it. I found it. Yeah, apparently, one of my cats knocked it underneath the sofa. Yeah, I know.
That's a national artifact. You got to hold on to that.
I know. This is anyway. But yeah, it was because when you were talking about, hey, let's talk about Joe and his cocktail and all that stuff that he took, and I was like, okay. I just wanted to get some real basic like info down, just so we're all aware of like what he took, what are the things for, and some of the side effects of some of these things. And it's just like, okay, all right. So as far as I was able to find out through my research, he took a cocktail of ivermectin, which is an anti-parasitic, prednisone, which is an anti-inflammatory,
I'm no stranger to
monoclonal antibodies, which are clones of white blood cells, very specific white blood cells at that, vitamin drips, and Z-Pak, which is an antibiotic. So
taking that too.
Right off the bat, none of these things are antiviral. None of these things that I just listed are antiviral in any way. So we also need to consider that, yes, maybe he had COVID, but perhaps he didn't get a real bad case of COVID.
Yes.
Because the thing is with people saying, oh, I got COVID, yes, you can get the bad, severe cases of COVID, but then you can also get a little bit of COVID.
You could also be asymptomatic, which was a huge word about 6 months ago. That's something nobody seems to remember.
Right. So even if he had COVID and even if he wasn't feeling great, it's entirely possible that he was able to, deal with a strain of COVID that just his body didn't really freak out that much about. So we need to also consider his case was not a severe ventilator, it brought me back from the brink of death type of scenario. It was not that at all. But with ivermectin specifically, there are two different forms of ivermectin. There is a human grade, and then there is a veterinary grade. And they are chemically very different. And even the CDC, Merck, the company that makes ivermectin, will tell you, please don't take the veterinary grade version of ivermectin. We have specific human-based ivermectin that you can take. But ivermectin for humans specifically is used to treat things like river blindness and intestinal roundworm. You can use it topically to treat head lice, rosacea, and scabies. The dosages vary by body weight, so it's specific to the individual patient themselves. And that has to be determined, your dosage has to be determined by a doctor. Like, you can't just go, oh, well, I weigh this much, so this seems like the right amount for me to take. And that's not okay, because you can overdose on ivermectin. And the overdose symptoms include vomiting, diarrhea, low blood pressure, hives, seizure, coma, and death. So it could be any and all of those things for your experiencing pleasure if you decide to ivermectin yourself without a doctor's approval. It has not reached an FDA approval status for the treatment of prevention or treatment of COVID. it hasn't yet. So just maybe there's something to it. Maybe they'll do some studies about it for the future. But for now, there isn't enough data that's been on, what does this do long term for COVID, if anything. So the fact that Joe was all about, touting the ivermectin cocktail, you're right, is very irresponsible. Because most of the times people are just going to, and they have been, like they've been going to the hospitals, not necessarily dying from overdosing on ivermectin, but they've had to be treated like with a poison control protocol because they've taken the paste, which is the veterinary grade stuff, and they're just kind of taking little bits on spoons, just whatever feels good. This seems like the right amount.
I'm just gonna inject that joint.
I'm just gonna
Probably
take
just
this
be doing crazy stuff.
and just
I
see
seen a
what
video of a
happens.
lady the other day. She was, or a Facebook post. She was like, "I'm wondering what to do about the smell, but I found this new hair treatment where I use aged urine and sprayed in my hair. I just don't know what to do because people seem to always complain about the smell."
Ammonia? That's what aged urine turns into ammonia. She's literally putting ammonia in her
And
hair?
she smell like really old whiz
Oh my
all
god.
the time. So yeah, people just be doing stuff. You can't tell me that lady didn't see that from somebody she knew or like respected,
she
and
did.
then like thought about it for 5 minutes and was
Of
like,
course
"Yeah,
she
let's
did.
go."
Yeah, of course she did. And that's why people like Joe have a responsibility. Even if they feel that this cocktail helped them, they're not doctors. Like, Joe is not a doctor. He is not a medical professional in any capacity, in any sense of the word. And for him to be like, here's the thing that I did. I'm now a big believer in this. And you're right. People are going to listen to him because they trust him, because maybe he's been spot on with other things that he's had opinions about in the past. Not necessarily relating to anything health, even though he does a lot of alternative health stuff. But that doesn't mean that it gives him the right to outright be like, here's what I used. Maybe it'll give you some luck as well.
I don't trust nobody that just be taking DMT multiple times. He said he did DMT like 2 or 3 times in one day.
In one day?
Yeah, like come on, yo, like nah, your brain is effed up, dog. Like,
Mush at that point.
come on, man.
So yeah, it's take it, don't take it. You're never going to hear any sort of medical advice in any capacity from me, or hopefully not Big J or anyone else on the show. But we have doctors for a reason. People who've gone to school for years, who've gotten degrees in these things for medicine, in degrees for science. There's no reason why we should just kind of be going, well, they're telling me what I don't want to hear, so they must be a dumbass. And it's like,
Can I tell you?
can
I
we
have
just
such a-
stop with
Yo,
that, please?
your Winchester accent is on point, yo.
The bumpkinness.
Thanks. Hey.
Were you gonna say something, Danielle?
Your chic bumpkinness. It's okay.
Were you gonna say
but
something?
I hate when people absolutely do that, especially like people who come to the pharmacy. It's like, well, my doctor told me to take this, but I know my body says to take blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, ma'am, have you seen your test? Have you seen your results? Have you actually spoken to the doctor? No. Yeah, but like, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So I'm gonna be like, okay, well, here on this report shows your blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes is like off the charts. Yeah, but my body is telling me something else. That's great. But science is telling me something else. Like,
Your body be telling you to eat them Doritos at 12:30 in the morning, but
Right?
you shouldn't.
there you go. Like,
Yeah,
I wish I could, like, retire and go to the Caribbean for the rest of my life. But
'Cause
you
my
know what?
body-
my
my
body
body
wants
says so.
it.
Yeah, yo, like when I
But-
be at work, well, I don't be at work no more. But when I used to be at work physically, I'll be sitting there at like 3:00 and my body is telling me, go home.
It is time.
Get up from the chair and leave. But I can't do that. Like, so you can't always just be trusting yourself.
Right.
And people just don't get that. They really think that like their brain and their mind and the way they think about things is just like top 3. And those are only three people's opinions I got to consider are me, some asshole
Myself
that's a
and I.
podcast, and then like,
Me,
you know.
myself, and I.
Yeah.
So, as an offshoot to this, another Joe Biden, instituted a mandate for any businesses that have 100 and more employees working, that you have to get the the vaccine. And I think this is although I think this was the right thing to do, I think you have to get tougher as far as kind of making it inconvenient for people to not be vaccinated. I also think this feeds into the government is coming to take something from me, or
It's funny how they played out, right? It's funny because like everybody was like, including Biden, was like, no mandates. All the citizens were like, we don't want that. They can't make us do that. That's just crazy talk, right? But this was also a whole year ago.
Right.
A whole year ago when the COVID rates were like lower than they are right now, but we were all talking about how terrible COVID was. The math ain't mathing.
I just think it's, although I think everyone should be vaccinated, I do think that to kind of mandate that they do it in a kind of heavy-handed way in which this kind of, because there was other ways you can go about making it inconvenient for people to not be vaccinated.
I mean, it's like, we told you what needed to happen. Like the information was out there. Like there is no two sides to this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain issues that go on where people are on one side of the fence and they think a certain way, and you're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion can also be like not valid, not real. You know what I mean? And like that's where we are right now. A year ago when everybody was like, we don't want vaccine mandates, and the government was like, we're not going to mandate anybody get a vaccine. They did not anticipate people being this stupid for this long.
It's true.
Like just in general. And like, you know, people can take offense to being called stupid, but like, you know, whatever. Again, my opinion, right? You can say you can tell me you're not stupid if you want, but this is where we are. Like it's getting out of control again. And like stuff's got to be done. So like things that have to be done are going to be more harsh.
New variants popping up. There's a new variant.
Right.
There's a mu variant, and it's
Mu
in 49 states at this point. It's been discovered in 49 states.
And what's scary is that it's attacking not only adults, it's not attacking
it's
children.
getting kids. Kids are getting COVID. They'll, like,
But here's my only pushback, and it's not on the merits of getting vaccinated. It's how you go about this. There's other countries that said, okay, well, if you want to go into a store, you have to show your health pass. A pass that either says you've been vaccinated or says that you have been tested within a person.
who's that's afraid of government oversight? Like the people we talking about is going to be cool with that, because that's the whole thing too, right?
Well, let me get to the thing though. That they're not going to be cool with that because it's inconvenient. But it's a difference between saying you have to go do it. You can still be hard-headed. You're just going to be harder to move around and do things.
Yeah.
I think
It's a difference between saying, "Hey, Wally, if you do this, I'm going to take away something from you, or you're not going to be if you show up late, you're not going to be allowed in."
right,
Different than saying
'Cause I'm
you're
like
not
everything.
you're not allowed being in here at all.
right.
Like, never mind if you're late or not, you're just not allowed in here.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
what
think
I'm
people
saying.
are just going to take that though? That's what I'm
But
saying.
that's
like,
what I'm-
That's why I think that this idea may have come, to the forefront at some point. The people who are making the rules, but I feel like if you do that, you have to show your health pass to get into this establishment. There's going to be like the whole mask thing where people be acting up in public. You know
So
what I mean?
what? I mean, but here's the thing.
Nobody wants that. Like,
But then people are going to act up now that you're doing a mandate after, like you said before. They said
they're
that,
going to act up anyway, right?
but there's degrees in which you go. You just if you don't go, there's ways of elevating the situation
the last
before
degree
you go.
was when we told everybody to keep your damn mask on your damn face, wash your hands, stay away from each other. That was the last step.
But now you're skipping past less direct means to saying now, okay, you have to. It's mandated. 100 million people are going to be affected by this, and you have to go get vaccinated if you want to form a living or make a living. That's a very harsh step. I'm not telling you that it's wrong. If you left up to me,
you're right. It's harsh.
It's harsh. And so now what you're saying is Larry, Curly, and Moe, who just took over the Capitol in January, because this is who this is affecting for the most part. So Larry, Curly, and Moe, who just took over the Capitol a couple of months ago, is now we're going to alienate them further.
Look, this is what you got to know about these people, right? Like this, you can't speak for everybody, but this group of people who follows that line of thinking, who would have shown up to the Capitol or actually did, you know what I mean?
And took it over.
Those kind of people, they're very malleable. You know what I'm saying? Because like half, 3/4 of them people.
No. Let him finish.
No,
'Cause
half
I
or
think I know
3/4
where
of
he's
those
going with
people
this.
voted for Barack Obama in 2008. And they were totally on that train and got flipped over, yo. Like, that is that large of a share of people. Like, you tell them they can't go into businesses or, you know, you got to get the vaccine to go to work. They're going to be pissed off about it for a couple of months until they realize, oh, I got to do something. Then they're going to go get their vaccine and go work somewhere else. Like, this is literally what's going to happen, yo. Like, these people, that insurrection, like, that was like, you know, the biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? It was like the biggest event. Everything that happens from now on is going to be a little bit more minor, I'd say. And like when we're talking about public health stuff like this, it's not like we haven't had situations where a mass amount of people got to get vaccinated before against a certain disease or like quarantine for something or something like that. Like, we're talking about masses of people here.
Yeah. Well, even to take it a step farther, like get away from the public and let's go specifically into a body where we know vaccines are mandatory from the get-go, the military. Like, our service members right off the bat in boot camp, they get vaccinated, they get pumped full of all sorts of shit. And then if you get deployed somewhere where you require other specific kinds of vaccines, you just get them or you don't go. Why? Because you're going to a place where what you've got may affect the people living there, or the shit that people got living there is going to affect you. And we can't be having these mass global transits.
Yeah, that's how smallpox
spreading
happened.
stuff.
Like,
Military's a little different because when you sign up for the military, you're signing up. Here's my free will.
The premise is the same.
You get to tell me where to go and where to be.
Right.
That like so it's
The
you're
premise
not
is the same
you're
in
not
this-
an individual anymore. You're part of the collective.
But
the
it's not
point-
just the military,
The point and
though.
purpose is the same, though. Like, you're going to be doing this. That's going to affect more than just you.
No, I
so
get
here's
it.
And that's the only thing. That's the only thing where I'm saying, like, this is not unprecedented stuff. Like,
No, but
it's having vaccines even in school. As
Yeah,
a
I was about to
That's
say,
what
you
I
have to go to
was
you have to go to
getting ready-
kindergarten.
that's
we
what I was
had to
getting
get
ready
shit
say.
like hepatitis, meningitis, was it tuberculosis? Like, all of the
And then
things.
some of them joints you had to do it again when you go to if you go to a 4-year
Yeah.
school and stay in a dorm.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
This is not unprecedented stuff. So
That's why I was laughing
people
at on
acting
football players a
like-
couple weeks ago because all three of them dudes that said something, they got a bunch of news coverage. Like, I ain't getting the vaccine. I don't know what's in it. All three of them dudes went to Division I schools, and I could easily go online and I looked up the NCAA clearinghouse forms for their schools, and they all had to get like a slew of vaccinations.
Yeah, and people
Like,
and people didn't ask questions then the way that they ask questions now. They didn't have problems with it then the way they have problems with it now. And there's nothing different about this vaccine compared to other vaccines that came before it. Every vaccine that we have now that's been around forever, at some point was brand new.
Right. And the one mechanism in this vaccine that everybody seems to have a problem with, I mean, it's been very, very, very heavily researched. It's been in use. The mRNA is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that information's out there. You can,
Yeah.
Man,
anyway.
they've been doing that for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so no. What I'm ultimately what I'm getting to is this isn't about logic.
It's not been about logic. This whole
So
thing is outrageous.
so it's not been about logic. So then when you try to then now you're saying I'm illogically not doing this thing, but now I'm about to mandate it. That's going to piss people off in a way that I don't think that. Here's the thing. Here's where I say the path where, and let me break it down. The reason why I thought this, and then we can move on. The reason why I said that we should have had it where people should have been more inconvenient for them to actually walk around and do things before we mandated it is most Americans are lazy.
They don't like to be inconvenienced.
They don't like to be inconvenienced. Part of the reason why we have microwaves and refrigerators is because we like things to be convenient for us. If you make it inconvenient to go to the Walmart, or if you make it inconvenient to go to the grocery store, people just will have more. You'll get more people by making something inconvenient than you do with saying you have to do this.
We
now.
literally saying the same thing though, because it's not like the mandate is not like.
No,
You
it's
don't
not
have
the
you
same
have
thing.
the option not to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you have the option.
You
it's
have the
exactly
option
the
to
same.
make your life harder.
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's what I'm saying.
What do you
You're,
mean?
you're
What are you
saying
saying?
Americans are lazy, and I'm saying that yes, they are lazy. If you tell somebody get vaccinated
Define
or
mandate.
you lose your job,
Define mandate. Because you're saying we're
no,
saying the same thing. We're not
this is
saying
what
the same thing.
this is what the mandate is. The mandate says that you can, if you the establishments with over 100 people, right? Companies
That's
with over
affecting 100 million people.
You
in
have
the
to get a
country.
vaccine in order to work there, right?
Correct.
you don't have to get the vaccine.
Yeah, you don't have to work there, but then
Exactly.
now you're just going to piss people off. You're
So what?
taking
Who
away
cares,
people's-
yo? That's the thing. They're lazy. They're not gonna want to go through what comes after that for too long. So they're just gonna go get the vaccine and go back to work or get another job after they're getting the fucking vaccine. You know what I mean? Like you're underestimating people's power. I mean, overestimating people's drive and determination and power out here, dog. Like they're gonna be mad. People have been this mad at stuff for years, but they're just gonna back off because there's nowhere to go.
Okay.
Like, it is what it is.
Okay, like I said, I just remember January. So when we start saying what people are and aren't, and I remember people got pretty pissed about a couple things going on in this country during the summertime before last year, and there was a mass protest. People being angry is the one thing that the government actually cares about. They want to see how far they can take something, and then they'll push it back depending, because like for one person, of votes and all the rest of that, angry mobs scare establishments. So if we're going to start making it where people have to be mandated and we're going to piss them off like that, I don't know where it's headed. I don't think we've calmed down as a country. I don't think we've healed anything. I think we're just as divided as we ever were. And I think when people are angry and they're upset about what things are going on, they start to lash out. And so, like I said, I could be completely wrong, and I'll leave
It'd
it
be
room.
one thing if the people in places of influence that are on that side of things felt the same way, but all the motherfuckers got the vaccine already. So, you know, it's just a matter of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, nah. Like people can be mad all they want, but like I was saying earlier, there's going to be another insurrection type event, but it's not going to be as serious. Why is it not going to be as serious?
Well,
Because
you
the
said
FBI
that, yeah.
has locked up like 450 people that were connected to that, and they're monitoring. You know what I'm saying? So like stuff like that, like the thing like national security and stuff like that, like the states does take this stuff really seriously. They got eyes everywhere, and like something like that, I don't think will happen that seriously again. But when in terms of the vaccine thing, like you're literally like, if you're thinking about this, like, oh, I can't work here because I didn't get a vaccine. Your next thought is, damn, I can't work here anymore after like that's all said and done. And then your next thought is, yo, I'm broke. Like that's the progression.
Yep.
Like,
Hit people in their pockets.
yeah.
So what was the next topic? I wasn't prepared because I wasn't gonna be a mic.
Let me see. What do we have here? What do we have here? Let's find out, shall we? Let's see here. We have fentanyl.
All right. So hold on a second. I want to say rest in peace to Michael K. Williams.
Yes.
Somebody, like everybody keeps talking about The Wire. I loved him more on Boardwalk Empire because he played a very strong character, one that was in charge of his people and had the main characters not fear of him but respected him based off of his capabilities and who he was. And the character of him in The Wire was wonderfully complicated, and he did a great job in that too. But just as him as a person, I remember watching an interview of him, and I remember thinking, okay, he can dance, he can act. He's like the character on The Wire wasn't so dissimilar to who he was in real life. Like he kind of floated. Well, he wasn't. I think he was bisexual is the term. So that kind of gave that a little extra layers. But I just thought of him as just an human being. And then when you hear stories about, hey, he was out and about and how, Snoop from Off the Wire, he saw her in the nightclub and said, hey, you should come by the set. Like, that's how she got her start. Like, yeah, like he would just do things where he would just throw assists to people. And he was found dead last week, and it was due to a fentanyl overdose. And from what I'm hearing about what fentanyl is in the streets is like now they're just cutting it with fentanyl with things, and people don't, unless they're doing like a drug testing kit, you just don't know what's in your drugs. Like you think you're taking this, but then it's cut with that.
Yeah.
Even with things like weed, they're cutting it with that as well.
Yep.
So you have to be very careful about if you're doing drugs, because listen, I'm not Nancy Reagan. I'm not going to tell people just say no. That doesn't work anyway. But what I will do is say, if you're going to do drugs, and I know how weird this will sound, please be safe.
Well,
Please be safe, and please understand that your drug dealer is, and this is also going to sound funny, doesn't have your best of intentions in mind, right? He's not trying to. He's not necessarily trying to kill you or she.
De verdad.
Shout outs to the girl
To the
dispensaries.
ladies out there making their money.
Yeah,
Okay.
the lady hustlers. But they don't necessarily have your best intention. They have their best intention is to make money.
Yeah.
And I just feel bad about. I saw a research in 2015 that, people who died in car accidents and other things, it was like, is literally minuscule compared to how many people die of opioid overdoses and fentanyl overdoses, which is, Prince and a couple other people died of fentanyl overdose. And I just look at it, and the little goes a long way, as you would know. Like, you don't need a lot to be effective when it comes down to that kind of thing.
Oh, just a little hammer and you're out.
And because they're apparently they're doing these like patches.
So fentanyl has patches that literally, one patch, depending on the strength, is supposed to last you, well, not supposed to, it is going to last you at least 72 hours. You're not supposed to be doing more than that dosage within that 3-day period. So if you do more than that, that's where the Narcan comes in, where you're going to have to use that nasal spray for an opioid overdose. And it's crazy because in certain pharmacies, they give out, if they give you an opioid, they automatically start giving you a Narcan prescription.
Good.
With, and I think,
Good.
yes, that is good because that literally will make people aware of
How serious
it is.
I remember
Like,
a couple of years ago, there was a Necron shortage. You know what I mean? Like, and like everywhere, it was just like people just dying.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and it was fentanyl. Yeah.
It was crazy because, and especially like, I don't know if anybody has seen on Netflix, there was a documentary series called The Pharmacist.
Oh, that dude was wild, yo.
No, but me being in the pharmaceutical industry and just sitting there and watching that, I felt so disgusted with myself knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm in this industry and I'm getting paid to, help dispense medicine legally, of course.
And
I'm a
safely.
legal
And
dealer.
safely. That's the thing.
But I mean,
Legally and safely.
Just literally watching that, it made me so sick to my stomach because it's like, wow, just the fact that we put so much faith in these doctors who take that Hippocratic oath not to harm people, literally just saw dollar signs and just went for it. And that is sickening. It's just crazy because
What do they say? Like fentanyl is like 50 times stronger than morphine.
yes,
Literally, they give people fentanyl.
these are for the people who are on their death.
Yeah, I'm about to say hospice. Yeah.
Cancer patients.
that's
These are
what
people
get
who
me.
are especially if you have bone cancer, you can't just level out. You can't measure out the degree of pain you're in because it's in your bones. You can't feel that, or you can't be I'm an 8 today and I'm probably a 5 tomorrow. No, that stuff is serious.
I'm a 20 today.
You 100 all day, baby. But anyway,
Do you guys need a moment? Y'all was getting on to us.
No, she's
No, but-
she's riding home with me today. So we're-
No, but you were saying something?
But no, seriously, in all seriousness, fentanyl is not something to be oh, cool, I'm going to try this out, to be yo, let me see how this feels, or blah, blah, blah. Or, I'm feeling let's get adventurous.
yeah. Fentanyl
No.
is not a gateway drug.
It is not. That's top tier.
Yeah.
It goes literally, it's cigarettes,
0 to 100. Now we
weed,
dead.
and then it's and then it goes, cocaine, peyote, heroin. Then it goes fentanyl because it's serious. Just a small dose will knock you out.
Can I ask you a question?
Might as well take nutmeg.
Can I ask you both?
Right? Shit.
Can I ask you both a question? So when we start talking about opioids and others, like I know just from anecdotally in the back, Mimi, you would make jokes about crack. But I want to ask both of you, because I don't know if you ever noticed, I never laughed. I was never into those kind of jokes. But I wanted to know, why do you, like, how do both of you guys feel about crack and or cocaine, like as a drug and all the rest of that?
I'll let the pharmacist go first.
I mean, I guess it just depends. When I hear crack cocaine, I think literally of drug dealing, or I think of overdosing. Because literally, like, you can overdose on crack so much more easier than you could, say, on sniffing lines. Like, just one pipe. Like, if you even look at, what's her face? Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
See, now it feels like you're drawing a difference between the same thing. Like, you're saying cocaine is okay.
Well, what are you?
Cocaine,
What are you actually?
None of it is okay.
No, but I'm saying,
The
I'm
crack
asking.
I think it's the crack is more dangerous.
Yes,
you know what I'm
it
saying?
is.
Like, they're
Crack
not,
is
one's not
way much
worse than
more
the other, but
dangerous.
crack is more dangerous.
I'm not asking anything other than what it sounds like. What I'm just trying to understand is when you're saying, because it kind of sounds like you're saying, okay, cocaine is cool, like you take online and no, but
Let me
when
make that
you
clear. None of these drugs are cool or okay, but it's true. Like what Wally was saying, it literally, if you go from cocaine to crack, it's like 100 times more addicting than crack is more addicting than cocaine. But because mind you, they're adding certain things, they're boiling it down, they're cooking it a certain way.
no, but okay. So the reason why I was doing word association like that is because I feel like it's a little weird that we're doing, for like opioids, we're doing care facilities, and it's seen, I guess because it's legally prescribed, it seems like we're doing more rehab stuff. But it seemed like we just punished crack.
We know why that is.
But no. But I was trying to figure out what they felt about it without that context, because I wanted to understand why we were like. Does everybody even understand? Like, you've been indoctrinated to believe one needs to be criminalized and these people need to go away, versus these people need to be helped. And I think that was
here's probably well aware of that. I get what you're saying though. Like,
but is everybody well aware of that?
I say
Wally?
everybody here.
Oh, but like I'm just saying,
at the table.
Everybody here.
But like, I just want to make sure the people over there understand that dichotomy, because drugs are drugs.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
And I think that's really what I'm trying to get to, is that you can't just draw a line and say one should be helped. Because if you're going to take it like that, people who are abusing fentanyl or any other opioid, lock them up too.
Well,
if that's how we were going to do people back in the
Yeah,
80s who were strung out and stuff.
True.
Like,
There's a major detail missing here though, because like, you know, fentanyl wasn't a part of the war on drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it was not distributed like that. It just is different. And like, who's overdosing on fentanyl for the most part in this country right now? Like, who's really taking the brunt of that?
are you going to
Do you
answer
know?
it? Like,
Do you know?
what are you saying now?
It's poor white folks,
Okay.
which there are a ton of.
Okay.
65% of this country is made of white people living in these areas where opioid overdoses are just a fact of life these days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they're white people. Fentanyl came in, started destroying community, or opioids started destroying communities, and the communities wanted to help these people. Crack got on the street for a totally different reason.
Yeah.
And
And it's more of a chain of custody where fentanyl came from and these other opioids came from. What's the chain of custody on cocaine and crack?
chain of custody.
What I mean by is these people in the inner cities didn't fly this stuff in. These people, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have boats. They don't have all these other things, these mechanisms to get it from Peru and Colombia here.
Yeah.
You know where these opioids came from.
Right.
You know who prescribed them. You know who's manufacturing them. You know how the shipment's coming in.
Right.
And that's why I guess I'm just trying to. The reason why I was asking that question is I just want to make sure that everybody understands out there that you have to be careful about just demonizing one set of people because they're in one area, and then because everyone needs help. Drugs affects people across the spectrum. And since we want to be on this pen, everybody's special, everybody's accepting, we need to also look at it like people who are affected by drugs in all these communities, they also need help. They also need health facilities. They also need rehab. They also need to treat what's going on with them and not be looked at as, oh, they're lost hopes and they're sucks on society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess if I'm going to add any final point to that, like, we also need to consider, like, most of the time, people aren't just going to accidentally become, addicted to one drug or another. Like, if you have no outlet to express yourself, that's one of the traps, unfortunately. Like, if you have nothing else going for you, if you're denied opportunities in life, sometimes either to help you forget your situation, sometimes out of just rebellion, out of sometimes wrong time, wrong place. There's lots of reasons why people end up falling into the trap of drugs. And I think other than making sure that, like, once someone falls into that trap, trying to help them rehabilitate and trying to help them find ways to cope with their addiction once they've gotten there. But I think the more important conversation needs to be, how do we keep you from getting there in the first place? And like you were saying, a lot of, like, the crackhead type situation is poor white people. Why? Like, why? There's a reason for that, because they don't have opportunities for things. They've not had good support systems. They're unhappy in their socioeconomic standings. And so a lot of times when you're just in that culture generation after generation.
We also talking about all these coal towns in the Midwest, like that. People just lost
all of our
jobs.
opportunities for
Yeah,
jobs
you know
are
what I mean?
gone. There's no growth in our town. There's nothing to do. And when you got nothing to do, time to kill, sometimes you end up making bad decisions. And sometimes those bad decisions become kind of a communal tradition.
No, that's good. You talked about the environment of how people even, so that's...
Because there's no point in talking about making people better if you're not going to also include in the conversation, how do we try and get people to not even be there in the first place?
People make that mistake. Right. They kind of like skip over all that part and just go to all the bad stuff, which is like, how do we get here? Because, if you got somebody that's 25 years old and they had like an overdose situation, like, why are you just worried about what happened today? Yeah. What happened the first 25 years? You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
All right, so Mimi, what's the word?
The word starts with T. And the word of the week.
Taylor Swift, huh?
You can't participate now.
Toiki.
Yeah.
No. The word of the week.
I'm gonna blank you out.
You're right. just like a big square, like he's not here, is turnkey. Turnkey. Turnkey.
Does it mean like easy, efficient, right away? No. All right. Well,
I'm not even.
Oh yeah, that's right. You don't exist. What would you like?
I'm in the penalty box.
What you want to get? A turnkey.
It's funny because I was like Twiki.
A turkey.
Turnkey. Wow. I would probably go like what Wally was saying, and for it to be easy, efficient, fast.
A turnkey is another way to say jailer. Speaking of like drug culture and shit.
Did you get that definition off the Andy Griffith show or something?
No, I mean it's an old slang term for a jailer. A turnkey.
Yes, the jailer is an old word too. I feel like they used that shit in the 30s.
Yeah, but a turnkey is another word
Black
for
and white
for
stripes,
a jailer.
chain and ball.
Right?
I can't believe he escaped. Where's the turnkey?
Out on the
he's sitting at his desk with his feet up on the table, with a newspaper over his stomach, sleeping shit.
And with a shotgun propped up in the corner.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I thought of Brother, Where Art Thou?
No, I mean that's exactly exactly the right kind of imagery. Yeah,
like,
like
hilarious.
Your jailers used to be called like turnkeys.
And they always fat.
Always fat.
Chunky.
Always fat.
Like if you watch an old TV show, all them dudes were humongous.
Oh yeah.
It was the laziest dude sitting in their junk.
Pot bellies.
Yeah, like they did that on purpose, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like,
And it's bad because it like kept on going, like
they kept it in there.
Then you have like, was it the cop on The Simpsons that is always like in the
Chief
donut
Wiggum.
shop?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the two dudes on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Hitchcock and Scully. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they just kept that jump going.
Just now. Oh my gosh, I can't.
Hey.
Chew.
Chew, baby. Chew.
So.
Maybe don't chew into the mic.
I know.
Well, why aren't you guys filling for time? The A mic is eating.
Because you had a thought and you started talking, but
I was just going to close the pod, but then I was going to say, please give out your socials.
So if you're looking for Mama Teresa's Empanadas, I'm on Instagram at Mama Teresa. So it's MamaTeresa, Empanadas, EMPANADAS. or you could also look me up via my personal website, or not website, but personal Instagram page at JD Enriquez. So it's JD HENRIQUEZ 87 on Instagram, or just hit up these lovely people
We know how to find her.
with this podcast. You know,
Yes.
just what was it? Click, like, and subscribe.
Yes.
Yeah, all
Please.
that.
Click, like, and
Definitely
subscribe.
Like
Yes.
and subscribe. Like, let me tell y'all again, because I went through this last week, right? If you go on your phone and Google podcasts, right? Mm-hmm. All them joints, we on there.
I know. We're
We on iHeart.
all of the
we
platforms.
on Google. We
Yes.
on
Oh.
Spotify.
Yep.
We on Buzzsprout.
Yep.
You know what kills me though? To put in that. So literally, as soon as Megan was like, "Hey, I'm on iHeartRadio," I was literally at work and I told everybody. I was like,
Nice.
"My girl on iHeartRadio. Oh my god, my girl on iHeartRadio. Oh my gosh, you need to listen to my girl. She had her podcast on iHeartRadio." I'm like-
Everywhere.
and people were like, "Okay,
Yes. So please, like, subscribe, share,
comment,
spread the word. Spread the word.
spread the live."
And on that note, have everybody have a great day.
Wipe your mouth.
Leave that in. Well, pause.